what's up? What's up, PD? Aaron Master, Toddlers. How's it going? So, is that accurate, Master? The Canary ETF is ready? Did they withdraw their those applications that they were supposed to? I have a feeling the Solana one's gonna be the first one approved. That's the one politically that all of the larger money in the space is positioned in and wants to dump. So have a feeling that gets approved pretty fast. It's so funny, the political games that are being played. Litecoin should have had an ETF when Bitcoin did, before Ethereum, because it's the same as Bitcoin. No, I mean, they're supposed to withdraw their whatever 19B4s. That's what the SEC told everybody, apparently. Yeah, it's funny. I don't know. I think it'll be approved. We'll see about inflows. This market is kind of a cesspool. Kind of a reflection of broader things going on. Oh, we have the S1 filing. And there's no S1 for CoinShares or Grayscale. I thought Grayscale filed like an S3 or something. I have no idea what these terms even mean. It's so uninteresting to me. Like, the rules that the government places on people. Hey, what's up, Eric? How long does it take for them? No. I mean, those should get approved. Do people even look at, like, when they're in their brokerage accounts, do they care what the provider is? Like, if they want exposure to Litecoin, I'm pretty sure they'll just pick whatever ETF's available, and then if a cheaper one comes along by a more known issuer, like BlackRock, then they'll just move funds. How is sentiment right now? Are people getting excited again? Because Bitcoin rallied pretty hard. We'll see if this can break out. There's a CME gap down here. I think if it fails one more time. People get pretty bearish. We'll see, but if it can clear this level from 115 to 118 above these previous highs, then it'd be pretty bullish, I think. There's still like no volume coming here for Litecoin. Probably, yeah, probably ready. We'll see. See if they'll just approve all these. I kind of. It might be pretty crazy if all these altcoin ETFs start getting inflows, and then we see rotation from the people who have been positioned in Bitcoin. The floodgates will open for a lot of money into tiny market cap assets with restricted supply. Let's check the funding rates. They're pretty low. 0.005, like 50% of the baseline. Open interest still like moving down. Could have like on the lower time frames and inverse head and shoulders, reclaiming this area that it broke down from. There shouldn't be that much sell pressure if Litecoin can break higher back to like 113. So it could move up there pretty fast. And the structure here looks pretty bullish. On the Bitcoin pair, it's kind of the same thing. And this like triple tap at this previous point of support. This is a major area on the chart where price has found support or rejected from. It's not like on Kraken though, because there's like no volume. LTC looks a little weird. Should bounce from here. Yo, what's up, Nick? Let's see what Bitcoin does. Yeah, I think that's what they're gonna do, is just approve all of them at once. Like Sol, XRP, Litecoin, Dogecoin. Wonder what the people selling these, like the financial managers that talk to clients, what they will say about them. What'd you post, Master? Oh. So they all withdrew their 19B4s pretty fast. Sweet, just approve them all and let's see what happens. But Litecoin's the lowest market cap by pretty far. What are all the ETFs that qualify, or all the coins that qualify under those new rules? The XRP, which is 172 billion, Solana 115, Dogecoin 35, Cardano, right? 28. Sorry, I had to talk for a second. You like the music is relaxing? That's good. I hoped it would be. Yeah, Litecoin's by far the smallest in market cap, right? It's the smallest in market cap. It's one of the few that just, I think, is more restricted to on the supply side. I feel like it's going to be really hard for 21 cycle winners to convincingly break all-time highs if price gets up there. Hey Bobby, what you want? Wonder what the new updated like long-term holder balances are. But compared to pre-2017 rally, it's like it should be over 100% higher in coins locked in long-term holder addresses. And then network activity before 2017 is up 100x. So yeah, I don't know if this narrative changes, rally gains momentum, and it sees increased network activity. It's gonna be hard to stop it if you attract larger money. Because you'll just it's more distributed, I think. There's more small distributed holders, but I think have decent conviction. So if you get a Michael Saylor-esque type that wants to buy up a lot of the supply, just not going to be many coins to grab. Oh, hopefully the Oregon curse was the end of this correction. And hopefully LTC against altcoins bottoming out here. It kind of looks like it. You think the bottom's in, Aaron? Yeah, I don't know. I think everyone will be convinced if Bitcoin has another leg up here. These are pretty proportional moves. 2%, 2.3%, 2.3%. Another move like this would take it back up to like 118. Bitcoin dominance. Honestly, what is most bullish for Litecoin is if Bitcoin does a rally really hard here. If we start the blow-off scenario, where this is just like compressed volatility before expansion, a lot of people are interpreting this as bearish, the kind of weakening momentum. But I don't know, I still lean towards the idea that this is gonna, at some point, have the highest, most vertical, steepest part of the cycle. What's up, Unmechanized? How are you doing? We're just hanging out here. If this idea is correct, this this should start moving aggressively. Doing alright? XRP bounced harder than most. But actually doesn't look that strong. To me. What happens if there's a government shutdown here before October 1st? Usually only would last like a couple days. But do all... Does like the SEC stop working? Death or glory feeling? The amount of times I've heard people say like it's either now or never is so high. I never think in those terms because I think this market, not the casino thing, like who knows when the speculative bull market ends. I don't think it's over. But I don't think Litecoin's monetary adoption will go down in a bear market. I think it's gonna continue to rise. I'd be worried if I was holding something else. But yeah, I think the odds are pretty good that this moves soon. Price is actually held above $100 way better than it did when there was way more excitement. There's not many other charts or coins that are more compressed than Litecoin. Like this wider volatility generally is not as bullish. Like a lot of the coins look like this. They have these huge, what look to me like exit pump moves up. Without much compression. Mike Maloney said it costs more to shut down the government. What does he mean? Well, yeah, you can't have very many. You can't have much better confluence. Than you have right now, right? Still very little interest. Compared to the last 10 years, really. With a much stronger fundamental picture. It's not just that it's undervalued today relative to other things based on network activity, but the odds of Litecoin continuing to outpace all other proof of work chains exponentially increased, I think, after this cycle of doubling in transactions while everything else went sideways. To me, it like solidified. There was a lot of risk in 2020 with competition from other chains, but Litecoin's pulled ahead so significantly. The risk is way lower, while interest is dead. And then yeah, well, you're opening up a lot of people who previously couldn't have exposure. After a period of like 8 years of no real impulsive giant breakout. $77% of my Litecoin is locked in cold wallets. It should be something pretty high because, yeah, miners dumped all at once in 2021 to put in the top, and then continuously sold basically all of their Litecoin. So Litecoin miners, last time we had data, held like 2% of the circulating supply versus like Bitcoin miners holding 10% of the supply. And then long-term holder balances as a percent of circulating supply are at all-time highs. Plus network activities at all-time highs, with the potential to increase quite a bit. I think somewhere between, it's hard to know, but at fee levels of like $200, I think Litecoin's total network volume without speculation could move up 20x. So yeah, restricted supply, potential for future demand, and then a huge increase in speculative demand potential. So it's in a good spot. Jackson says the ETF news good or bad? I think it's like neither. I think it's overall bullish for Litecoin, because Litecoin struggled with a lack of speculative demand, but this could revive interest, and then given how much money's out there and how small Litecoin is, it's not going to take much to catalyze interest. Like, Litecoin could see 1/10 of the inflows that XRP or Solana see and move higher in price or percentage terms, which would then force people to pay attention and probably lead to reflexivity because of narrative change. The narrative change potential is huge. People just don't see it yet. But I know people's overall opinion on Litecoin will change so significantly, and then above all-time highs, it's hard to know what happens. I think it'll break people's minds in a sense, just like when Bitcoin continuously broke all-time highs. Force them to reconsider and then buy. Usually they just buy out of FOMO. Yeah, like the supply is really restricted, but the bid side, like there's not much speculative interest. People signing up on these exchanges have been distracted by so many other coins, right? Nobody's talking about it. Because the incentive structure in crypto, like marketing and influencer networks, is to either pump something you got for free or follow the dominant Bitcoin maxi narrative. There's one video that got decent views. This guy has a lot of subscribers.
Thank you very much for clicking on.
Oh yeah, he has 310. This guy has 310,000 subscribers, but his Litecoin video got 900 views. The ETF news is good and bad. Yeah, well, it's gonna have to compete. I just think it's a very different demographic. I think people buying ETFs versus signing up for exchanges are people like my parents. And I don't know how interested my parents would be in buying something like Solana or XRP. Trying to think. I don't even. They wouldn't understand Bitcoin either. But again, it just doesn't take much money to move it, and if it can outperform, which I think it will, break out against altcoins, then everyone's gonna, it'll get so much free marketing. I mean, if you can tell people a bullish fundamental case, which is what I've been trying to do because I believe it's the truth, you can convince a large majority. It's just you need the spotlight for a second. Like, we need a breakout candle. We have the data to prove, what's going on. What I will say to people is what I've been saying for the longest time. This is the way Bitcoin scales. And because monetary network effects generally consolidate around the dominant money, given Litecoin's lead above everything else, it should continue to grow against Bitcoin. It would be in normal monies, unlike decentralized monies that cost more, the more people that use them, you would expect like if Bitcoin was infinitely scalable, there would be no need for another Bitcoin. But the market doesn't lie, the monetary side. So this process will continue, and there's just way more upside in the long term for the second Bitcoin chain, priced at like 250, 260x lower than BTC. That's priced at its most expensive premium above network activity ever. I always think of it like if these two assets were companies, like transportation companies, and they basically used the same exact truck, but one, you know, it can't take on any more demand, right? It's full. All of its trucks are in use. So if you want to ship anything over that transportation company, you either have to wait in a queue or you can pay a fee for priority. Versus another truck company that has capacity to increase user base by 10x, and the cost is nothing. So if I was going to invest in a transportation company where the PE multiple on the dominant one is like 200 or 300, something crazy, versus the second company that's free to use, has room for growth and is stealing market share from the dominant, is trading at a PE multiple of like 10. Which one would you buy? It would be obvious. It's just money is confusing to people. And monetary history is confusing to a lot of people because I think it leaves out the full story. People misunderstand. What has happened? What's up, Andrew? It's all good. Yeah, you can post a link for a video if you want, Luigi. What we don't know is how long it will take for Litecoin ETS to start trading. Usually it's just like the next day. Yeah, it's very confusing for most people. They will buy the story. That's why this market has been driven on stories and sentiment, why traders and TA people have dominated, or at least the good ones. That will change over time, but for now it's the way it is. And so yeah, if you're an average person, how do you understand Bitcoin? You just look around YouTube or the internet and you're gonna believe whatever you read. Even if you ask ChatGPT, it's gonna give you the most popular definitions of Bitcoin. You're not gonna see Litecoin at all. You're gonna think, oh, we have this global digital money. In Bitcoin, why would you need another one? And the marketing from all the Bitcoin influencers is gonna tell you that you don't need it. So you're just gonna believe that. The only way you actually know about Litecoin is if you rely on Bitcoin. It became too expensive, so you had to find something else, which is what's happening. And that's limited a number of people, because most people in the West especially just have exposure through Coinbase. The other way is you actually read the white paper, look at the code, experiment with it, understand the economic side of Bitcoin, how it works, and come up with your own conclusion. But even then, you're probably not going to get the right answer. You're not going to see it. It's what happened. There's never been a money that didn't really scale vertically. So that, I think that's why it's so hard for people to imagine. Like, wait, Bitcoin scales through another money? But really that's the truth. And the better analogy to me has always been, you know, if Bitcoin was the dollar, it's more like a specific unit, right? Like a $100 bill, and Litecoin's more like a $10 bill. There's no difference in the money itself. It's just the security level. If this is ever adopted at scale through decentralized exchanges and swap protocols, people will, the market will figure that out really fast. Kind of sucks. If cryptocurrency was like naturally being adopted instead of just building these casinos where people could get price exposure, then it would look way different. You're not gonna get AI to tell you to read Adam Smith. Yeah, true. Have you read his books? Like Wealth of Nations? That a long time ago. Like 2017, 2016 maybe. Yeah, we don't know how long it'll take the SEC to approve the S1s, but I don't know, maybe Master's correct here, that they did withdraw all the 19B4s, and there are S1s or S3s filed. So it doesn't seem like they have to do anything. It's just waiting on... I don't know if this is correct. This is my... I've never been interested in this stuff. I would just refer to the people that do this all day. I keep seeing like real world asset tokenization or tokenization of stocks continue to be pushed. It's so funny to me because the real world asset stuff never materialized into anything, but the narrative has been brought back so many times. I don't know what efficiency gains you're getting. I've never been interested in it because you still need a political system to protect ownership of companies or anything physical, like property. It just seems like something that gets hype over and over again. just follow these guys like Eric Balchunas and James Seyfert. For ETF stuff. Tokenizing stocks on a Litecoin LT just makes it easier to use Litecoin as money. Unless they just totally say, no, you can't use this money anymore, or did what they did with gold, right? Gold wasn't able to be used. For a long time. It's just banned. Like, honestly, what I think will happen, like, maybe that gets hyped up. Some people use it, but it's not that innovative. Eventually, we should have decentralized trading markets. Like, Polymarket is a good example. But something else where you can trade intelligence, something else that's natively digital. And that would make sense to be issued on or tradable on a decentralized exchange and denominated in Litecoin. Eventually those types of marketplaces, to me, would be like Facebook, but for the decentralized economy. Could be worth a ton. They've been trying that stuff with like Open Bazaar. I don't even know if that project's still around. Yeah, the only natively digital assets that I think this future economy will be built around it's like the trading of AI tools, apps, intelligence. Yeah, I don't see it, Master, but maybe it's true. I just don't see what efficiency gain you're getting. So far, it's like I guess you could trade 24/7, but I don't know, like if Coinbase or these like, crypto exchanges get into tokenizing equities, I think the experience for the average customer would be way worse than the experience they get today. But yeah, like for every type of major item that you'd want to trade 24/7 that represents some physical ownership in the real world, usually you have to prove your identity to collect it. Like if I wanted to buy a house on chain or an apartment, you're still gonna have to go through the same governmental process of getting like the property deed, signing all these documents, linking it to your physical identity. I don't see how blockchain or tokenization helps that at all. But for natively, like maybe DAOs or decentralized types of organizations, it would make sense. Put your body on the blockchain. And create OnlyFans on chain. You can rent out time with influencer girls. Hey Charlie, are you meowing? Yeah, I don't understand the advantage though. Like, if I want to buy, it's pretty easy to trade stocks on Robinhood. It's like a few clicks. And there really hasn't even been that much demand to trade on the weekends for crypto. But yeah, maybe it happens, but I don't see how it's that valuable. It's definitely not permissionless. It definitely can be turned off and on whenever they want it to be. I don't see how it solves any of the like legal or enforcement of this property rights. Like with money, you yourself can protect your private key. You don't need anyone else to know it's yours or say it's yours. But with most other things you do, you need someone to protect it for you if someone tries to steal it. You could have permissionless. I mean, if it's a decentralized organization. You could have ownership rights that are protected just on chain. And the company has no central location either. It's not like a government can go in and shut it down. Harley Lee's in here. Where's Harley Lee? They could approve it before October 2nd, but I think now that deadline's meaningless, right, Master? It's funny, Litecoin's been screwed, like, in terms of momentum so many times. Right, Trump meme coin was launched at one point when Litecoin was trying to break $140. There was tweets about, you know, Trump making tweets about Cardano, XRP, and these random tokens. Another time Litecoin was about to break out. And then it was going to be the first ETF that's approved, but a few weeks before they just changed all the rules. It's hilarious. We'll just have to see what the demand is. Like, it's going to get approved and listed. But it's gonna have to compete against big money altcoins that have a lot of marketing behind them, and I'm sure funds pitching it. Like, look at Kathy Wood talking about Solana. She's like, she has a lot of influence. So does Mike Novogratz, and they were heavily positioned in Solana. Same with Raoul Pal, telling everyone about it. People follow each other. So it's gonna have to compete against that, and Litecoin has to compete against the maxi narrative. So there's like so many things to overcome for a coin that has none of that. It has to beat it on fundamental growth. But that is inevitable if monetary demand for Bitcoin keeps increasing like it has been slowly. Yeah, they wouldn't want, I mean, like what's happening is what they'd want. But I don't know, like you can kind of, you can see there's a lot more restrictions around crypto than there were when Bitcoin was just launched. So that's to some extent showing that they at least are paying attention. But yeah, they wouldn't want that. It's easier if they can centralize control into the casino and exchanges and have the majority of people KYC'd. It becomes less of a threat. It's very easy to manage. Oh yeah, next two guests. Well, Thursday it's Aztec, and I think it's 8 p.m. And then the LitVM people, which I think it's Eden Yago, is Tuesday, a week from tomorrow. At 3 p.m. I think he's in Europe, so I have to do it a bit earlier in the day. So we'll have those two, and then I'm gonna hopefully Litecoin can get a breakout and get some attention. It'll be way easier to have the bigger accounts. Credible said he might be down because he did talk about Litecoin a little bit. Thanks, Andrew, for the repost. Yeah, I would agree, Andrew. It is the one threat, even though most people laugh at that, or at least like the normie Bitcoin plebs that are convinced by maximalists. It is the biggest threat to the one chain only narrative, and it will. I don't get how they don't just reposition themselves and buy some Litecoin, because if Litecoin passes Bitcoin, which it will if we get a blow off, I think the odds of that happening are extremely high. We just need sustained transaction fees for Bitcoin above like $100 for a while. They spiked there for like a day, but that's not going to do much for migration. So like a month or two, if Bitcoin's moving parabolically, has this final blow off phase of $100 plus transaction fees, Litecoin likely will pass Bitcoin. In users, maybe not total network volume, but if that's happening while price is moving aggressively, it destroys the whole immaculate conception type narrative. I think that narrative's so dumb. What product on earth do you use just because it was first. And nobody does that. They just maximize the utility to themselves. And this market will transition from narrative driven to utility driven at some point. But I think something like this will happen. Massive bear market. Who knows how long it takes? 5 years? And then transition to utility driven market. Like the proliferation of decentralized exchanges and uses of money into the like 2040 time period. I actually think this probably lasts longer. It's crazy, we've been in this bubble, I think, since 2017. Not much has changed, fundamentally. It's just a lot more people are participating. The same narratives from 2017 are still here today. But, like, almost no coins have market penetration. So really, the only thing that's been growing is Litecoin. Yeah, I hope more people start using this, because the anonymity gets better. Like, if somehow Litecoin could develop out an economy and just natively denominate an MWeb Litecoin, be pretty bullish. Need DEXs with no KYC, MWeb Litecoin, and then integration into like some decentralized merchant processor. Aaron per Grokton, no new delays have been announced. Yeah, it's gotta be this month. Like one just needs to break up here. I think we move back up to 113 pretty quick. Just kind of have a move similar to Bitcoin had. Yada, you want me to go? It can be approved tomorrow? How do you feel? Here, Charlie. Oh, NBK sent me this. Let's watch it.
Why
It's
won't,
going everywhere.
if it's ramping up in terms of its success, and let's say that that's exponential, because perhaps it might be, why won't Bitcoin just suck the investment capital out of everything?
It is, and it will.
Okay.
That's why I'm here. That's
Okay, so what's the consequences of that?
Well,
so
Yeah, interesting theory. That's what people have been saying for a long time, Bitcoin black hole, but it's likely the opposite that happens. If there was this economy being built on top of Bitcoin right now, and you were seeing like reflexive momentum because of that, more people hearing about it, then setting up Bitcoin nodes, starting to accept Bitcoin for their stuff, then yeah, it would have some sustainable growth and it could move up. It would run into fee pressure and then other Bitcoin chains would emerge, but like the risk is that you have some financial crisis and Bitcoin is just dumped into no bid because there's no sustainable monetary demand and it collapses in price. I think that's more likely. Send it back to 3K. I don't know. $5K. Correct this whole move from the bottom. Back to a few $1,000s. That's what I would think. Right, imagine trying to sell hundreds of billions or forced liquidations of hundreds of billions of dollars when nobody has any money to buy it. There's just no bid. You think 124 was the top? I think Bitcoin's, I still lean towards the idea that it'll have a blow off here. Like stocks are entering a blow off phase. The rate of rise is much steeper. Crypto still hasn't caught in that attention or seen much rotation. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And that's what would be most bullish for Litecoin. Oh, I don't think Grok's right on the Aaron. Based on what the people who follow this space say, it's like pretty soon, imminently, that a lot of these will get approved. I don't even think anyone really knows. It's like the only people that might know are people that work at the SEC. But I don't think they'd be unfair and just launch one. Right, as long as it meets the requirements and everything that is required is submitted, they probably approve all of them immediately. Boring chop here, but alright, good night, Yoda 89 or Yod 89. Bitcoin already is kind of a whale game. The only way I think it sustainably moves much higher is through monetary demand. That has to go a long ways. It's possible Bitcoin could sustain itself in the long term in terms of today's dollars, like well above 100K, but it'd need real monetary demand at very high value ranges and people willing to pay very high fees for that. I think Bitcoin median transaction values would need to be much higher. Both Grayscale and Canary amended their S1. Oh, and removed the 19v4. Nice. They're on it. Well, they have a huge financial interest to get that done as soon as possible. Let's see, I'm ready. We're all ready for this. Send it. Fucking send it. Let's watch Ben Cowan's video because he's been accurate. His analysis is usually backward looking, but he's done
about
pretty
Bitcoin
good.
dominance and how the found 58% tends to take the better part of a month. You can see that the same thing happened right here in September of 2020, and the same thing happened over here in September of 2017. I think that the final rotation back into Bitcoin for this market cycle is about to start. I think the low is likely already in, right? So I think there's a good, this is a good candidate low for Bitcoin dominance here at around, on average, by far, is October. If you look at the ROI from the cycle bottom for Bitcoin, you can see we're getting into the final innings of this bull market. If you look at it from peak to peak, you could also argue that we're also getting into those final innings. And if you measure it from the halving, we are arguably getting into the final innings of the bull market. In that case, what normally happens is the very last move, Bitcoin dominance should surge one more time, okay? Same thing happened in 2017, same thing happened in 2020, 2021, where you see Bitcoin dominance drop, right? So you see it dropping, just like we've seen it dropping over here, but then we get that final spike by dominance back up to the upside in Q4 before alts then start to outperform Bitcoin. So I think that Bitcoin dominance is about to shoot up a lot. Now, there's a lot of people that think that alt season is around the corner and they're calling for Bitcoin dominance to crash. But this is not the time for Bitcoin dominance to usually crash. If you go look at monthly returns for Bitcoin dominance, right? It's a little bit hand wavy, but you go look at monthly returns for Bitcoin dominance, what you'll notice is that October by far is the best month on average. Now, so within one standard deviation, right, there's a wide range of current levels, then you're like basically looking back at, you can see the dominance here is found on week SMA S4. So I would remain bullish on Bitcoin dominant?
Yeah, it's taking a lot of risk if you were trying to catch a short-term move in Bitcoin relative to alts moving up. Also, what's most bullish for Litecoin fundamentally is Bitcoin moving vertically, because it will have that network migration. I think it's so risky with, like, Bitcoin dominance can actually move up and ETH can go sideways. Like, Bitcoin can rally, ETH can go sideways, but Litecoin can have a breakout during that time frame. So I definitely would not follow that. I know Ben hates Litecoin, or talk shit on it a lot. But yeah, a lot of that analysis, that like very simple one variable type analysis, seasonal trend following, has worked pretty consistently. So I think you'll miss the biggest moves if you rely solely on that. There's like a lot of people that just focus on the macro stuff and bet on trend continuation, which has worked for the longest time. But I think all those things are destined to break. Like the halving cycle thing, I never believed in, because it only affects people psychologically. Realistically, halvings are pretty meaningless without increasing transactional demand. Harley Lee, what up? Well, yeah, I mean, if Bitcoin rises and does have a blow off, it's probably gonna move up to like close to 200k. It doesn't take that long. Like this move in Bitcoin, I guess it took 3-4 months. But these rallies are pretty short most of the time. This was about a month. And from the breakout, it was 60%. 60% move gets you close to 200k. I'm not convinced Bitcoin has to top at the end of the year, though. I think we could get something like this as well. Like this initial 70% rally, consolidation for a month where alts go crazy, and then a final blow off. Like the risk you take with buying Bitcoin here is really high, and the upside is like 100%, maybe 150% max. And actually being able to withstand the volatility to actually get to like 150% gain from here is almost impossible for most people. And then selling the top, the risk reward is so bad. Whereas the expected move that I think we'll have in Litecoin, similar to Doge in 2021 or XRP in 2017, should be a lot easier. Where you really just need to catch, if this is going to break out pretty massively, this first rally, and you outperform Bitcoin for the whole cycle in like a span of a couple months. Right, it just takes patience. You can outperform Michael Saylor massively, even though it looks like they're all outperforming up until today. By the end of the year. Harley Lee, Charlie's half-father. Nice to meet you. Let the institutional people and Sailor buy the top. That's what I thought would happen way long ago. Like, institutions in small countries literally putting in the top for the end of this market cycle. It's gone way longer than I thought it would, but that's what I thought back in like 2018, 19. And how many people do you think you could convince, like if we do get a blow off at 200, 250k, how many more people do you think you convince to buy it based on now it's already trading above 100k? I really don't think, maybe some, but not enough money to really sustain a move like that. What's more likely, if that happens, is transaction fees go to a few $100. Litecoin takes most of the transactional demand. And then all the speculation piles in. The Litecoin's more likely the black hole that Michael Saylor's trying to describe. Just not apparent yet. Yeah, Litecoin's upside realistically is 100x plus. It's not based on charts or anything. It's based on the idea that Bitcoin does eventually become, or the security model becomes, a dominant money into the future. And you know, it can't handle all the demand, so all the excess demand for permissionless money just moves to the second chain until it's equal in price to the first, equal in network activity and price to BTC. That is the upside potential long term. Upside potential in the short run for Bitcoin is just how many people you can convince to buy it, which is not smart. David Marcus comments today. David Marcus, well, he co-founded Lightspark. He's like all in. Isn't that a Lightning company? He's like been all in Bitcoin for a while. Yeah. Bitcoin can still, yeah. I don't know why they all take that view. You just look at what's happening. Your Lightning Network stuff isn't really working. You can't push it through. It's not like I don't get why they say it's permissionless, but then don't really realize what the word means. Like all those companies that you're building on top of Bitcoin just can get deleted. in like 30 seconds with enough signatures. Why bet your whole life on that? That is crazy. It's getting pretty late here. It's like midnight? No, it's 11. Yeah, I think, yeah, fiat currencies. I think there always will be, just states can reissue new fiat monies when they die. That's typically what happens. It happens in Africa all the time. They just issue a new money, force people to accept it. They can keep doing that forever. The only way people can actually stop that is if they can hide and can't be thrown in jail for adopting a different money. I don't get why people don't see that happening in all over the world and how it's happened previously, and then think it'll be any different in the West. It's not going to be any different. So they will allow it when it's not a threat, and they'll allow you to gamble on it. They will not allow it to compete, or will try to stop it. They will try their best to stop it. If it starts taking market share, and reduces the power of their ability to tax through inflation. But all these guys are just playing pretend, I guess. I don't know. What's the failure with Lightning Network? I mean, it's just not adopted at all, and most of the actual adoption ended up being through these giant centralized companies. Like, those don't have any ability to avoid resisting whatever the government tells them to do. There's choke points. But the decentralized version of the Lightning Network is like, it's a cool idea, but it's so complex and it never would actually scale the chain. Because you have to do a transaction to get on the Lightning Network, and then to settle, which you have to do eventually, you have to pay the fee. It doesn't do what they thought it would do. I wouldn't say it's a failure, but just look at adoption, how much money was spent on it. You know, hundreds of millions of dollars funding it, and nobody uses it. Honestly, everyone that was trying to build stuff like that to make Bitcoin more usable as money was literally, they were all just trying to pump Bitcoin price because they had a bunch of it. Like, why? I don't get. Like, they're fighting the market. It works fine like this. It works fine through multiple chains. Just build decentralized swapping tools. Those would probably make you way more money than trying to pump Bitcoin by creating some credit layer thing that was never going to work. Bitcoin isn't really a hedge against fiat failure. I think it fails the hardest if it doesn't get monetary adoption. It's just like a marketing slogan because price went up a lot. Like, historically, Bitcoin has dropped way harder in times of, you know, weak financial assets. Like 90%, 80-90% drawdown. It's not a hedge at all. The only way it's a hedge is if there's something to put in a bottom to the price, and there's not a bunch of leverage just speculating on further upside. Like if instead of just gambling through exchanges, the price was moving up because it was being adopted and more used as money, then yeah, it would be a hedge. Right? Like if you saw massive liquidation events in the real economy, the Bitcoin economy might hold up. And then actually gain a lot more users during that time. But it's the opposite. Well, everyone's trying to sell us a story with propaganda and tell you why their specific coin is the greatest. But just look what's happening. You gotta think for yourself. There's nothing to put in a floor if momentum in price moves down, right? Just because there's more leverage than ever before in Bitcoin now. And what are they gambling on? They just have to convince people to buy their Bitcoin from them. But if you have a recession and a lot of people don't have money and they're forced to sell financial assets, I think Bitcoin holds up the worst. Alright guys, I'm gonna go now. Thanks for hanging out. I'll just keep it consistent, do these every day. Maybe we can get the move up to 113 tomorrow. Potential inverse head and shoulders on the low time frames here, like triple tap at the lows. For LTC, BTC, it's at a point on the USD pair where hear that CMF's moving up as price is going down. Or there's not much, right? There's this pocket of liquidity here where price, there weren't many bids until we hit the range lows. Same thing moving back up on the ask side. I'm sure there's not much selling pressure until this like mid-range level. Alright, so if price can break through these asks that are stacked here, get back up to like 115, where price historically was rejected and found support. So that'd be my guess. Move up to 113, 115. If it can break through here, break through these highs at like 107, 108. And see what happens from there. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. Have a good night, guys. See ya, Aaron. Oh, Andrew, did I see the video of Charlie? No, I can look at that real quick.
For kings, and Litecoin is currency for the people. Bitcoin companies, right, are storing Bitcoin in their company treasuries. Even countries are doing that with Bitcoin. But a lot of people, because they can't afford to buy one Bitcoin, right, they would buy a Litecoin, and it acts as the same kind of store of value and means of exchange as Bitcoin, but it's easier to use. Some people say like Bitcoin.
Yes, I think that's good marketing from Charlie. I think he did well in that. I think they're the same thing. I see this world evolving very differently, but yeah, I think that's pretty simple to understand for a lot of people. Alright, see ya guys, have a good night, thanks for coming. We got Aztec on Thursday, but I'll be back here tomorrow. I'll see you all later on, and then I'll start the 24/7 stream again once we get a breakout, because I can sustain the momentum finally, if that happens. So that's the plan. See you all next time.